When Faith Simmons received the casting call from 90 Day Perverts, she laughed for a full 5 minutes. "It's satire, right?" she asked the producer on the other end of the line. The producer chuckled. "Not quite. We're looking for open-minded individuals who aren't afraid to explore unconventional relationships." Unconventional? Faith raised an eyebrow. "Think of it as The Bachelor Meets Love is Blind, but with quirks." Faith's best friend, Maria, encouraged her to do it. "You're single anyway, and reality TV thrives on normal people like you being thrown into chaos. Plus, it could be hilarious." Faith thought it over. She didn't expect to find love on national television, but the idea of a 3-month paid vacation in a luxurious mansion didn't sound bad. The mansion was breathtaking. Faith stood in the grand foyer, taking in the marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and sweeping staircase. The air smelled faintly of lavender, a stark contrast to the chaos about to unfold. The contestants trickled in one by one, each more eccentric than the last. There was Angela, the influencer, who immediately began vlogging despite the producer's warnings. Travis, the crypto-obsessed entrepreneur, insisted on explaining the blockchain to anyone within earshot. Then came Rachel, the free spirit who carried a collection of crystals in her bag and claimed to communicate with energy fields. Faith noticed him immediately, not because he was loud or attention-seeking, but because he was so unnervingly quiet. He moved through the room like a shadow, his eyes scanning everything with a disconcerting intensity. When it was his turn to introduce himself, Loren's voice was soft and monotone. "I'm Loren," he said, offering no further details. Faith felt a chill as his gaze lingered on her for a moment too long. The first week in the mansion was a whirlwind of awkward conversations, ridiculous challenges, and budding rivalries. Faith quickly became the straight woman to the group's eccentricities. While Angela vlogged about manifesting love, and Travis tried to pitch his NFT collection to the camera crew, Faith spent her time observing the contestants and trying to stay out of the drama. He didn't participate in the group activities or make any effort to bond with the others. Instead, he seemed to drift through the mansion, always watching but rarely speaking. Faith often caught him staring at her from across the room. His gaze wasn't lecherous, but it was intense, unsettlingly so. Faith returned to her room one evening to find a single gray sock lying on her nightstand. It wasn't hers. She frowned, picking it up. Weird. At breakfast the next morning, she held up the sock. "Does this belong to anyone?" Loren's hand shot up. "That's mine," he said, his voice calm. Faith raised an eyebrow. "Why was it in my room?" Loren shrugged, a small smile playing on his lips. "Maybe you borrowed it." The table fell silent. Angela looked amused, while Travis muttered something about how socks were a metaphor for lost investments. Faith felt a knot of unease form in her stomach. Faith began noticing small, inexplicable changes in her room. Her slippers were moved from their usual spot. Her toothbrush appeared on the windowsill. Once she found a single flower, a wilted daisy, on her pillow. At first, she thought it was a prank. But when she confronted the group, no one admitted to it. Loren, as always, remained silent, his expression unreadable. One night, Faith woke to a strange sensation, a light pressure on her foot. Her eyes flew open, her breath hitching in her throat. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. But then it happened again, a firm, deliberate squeeze on her toes. Faith bolted upright, her heart pounding. In the dim moonlight, she saw a figure standing at the foot of her bed. Faith grabbed her phone, the glow of the screen illuminating the room. Loren's pale face came into view, his eyes fixed on her feet. "What the hell are you doing?" she demanded. He blinked, as if coming out of a trance. "I like your toes," he said simply. Faith felt a wave of nausea. "Get out," she screamed. Loren didn't argue. He turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him. Faith reported Loren's behavior to the producers the next morning. "He was in my room last night, touching my feet," she said, her voice shaking. The producer nodded, jotting down notes on a clipboard. "Loren's quirky, but he's harmless." "Harmless," Faith repeated, her voice rising. "He was in my room." The producer sighed. "Look, Faith, this is a reality show. Tensions run high, and sometimes people do weird things. But Loren hasn't broken any rules." Faith stared at him in disbelief. "So you're just going to let this slide?" The producer offered her a sympathetic smile. "Try to avoid being alone with him, okay? And let us know if it happens again." Faith began locking her bedroom door at night. But even that didn't stop Loren. One night, she woke to the sound of soft footsteps outside her door. She held her breath, staring at the doorknob. It didn't move, but she knew he was there. The next morning, she found a note slipped under the door. It read, "The final straw came during a group challenge. The contestants were tasked with building a makeshift shelter in the garden." Faith paired up with Angela, trying to focus on the task at hand. But Loren kept hovering nearby, his gaze never leaving Faith's feet. "Can you not?" Faith snapped, her patience finally wearing thin. Loren tilted his head, his expression blank. "You have nice toes," he said. Faith stormed off, leaving Angela to finish the shelter. That night, she packed her bags. "I'm done," she told the producers. "I'm leaving." But when she tried to leave, she discovered the gates were locked. "You signed a contract," the producer reminded her. "You're here until the end." Determined to escape, Faith began searching for a way out. That's when she stumbled upon the attic. Inside, she found a disturbing collection of items: socks, hairbrushes, and even strands of hair. In the corner of the room, Loren sat cross-legged, cradling one of her slippers. Loren was removed from the show the next morning, but the damage had already been done. Faith returned home, hoping to move on from the experience. But a week later, she received a package in the mail. Months later, Faith saw Loren's face on the news. He had been arrested for stalking another woman. Faith shuddered, grateful to have escaped, but the memory of Loren's obsession would haunt her forever.